I didn't want to hear that I might have an ulcer, but I just couldn't ignore my stomach. You can imagine how relieved I was when my doctor said Mylanta. He told me it wasn't an ulcer. It was indigestion. And indigestion like mine needed a strong medicine.
Mylanta is strong medicine, strongly recommended. In fact, Mylanta is the antacid doctors recommend most.
My doctor said Mylanta.
Just to remind you, there are 35 million Americans who have no health care coverage at all, and those who do are finding it increasingly expensive. On the American agenda tonight, why is the cost of coverage so high, and what can be done to bring it down? Part of the problem is red tape. Consider this. In Canada, paperwork accounts for only a penny of every dollar spent on health care. In the U.S., the paperwork cost is 10 times more. Our agenda reporter is Tim Johnson.
Another passion of hers.
Stephen and Martha Cadell of Charlotte, North Carolina know that in America, even if you have health insurance, getting sick is only the beginning of the battle. When Martha was diagnosed with leukemia 3 years ago, their only concern was whether she would survive her illness. But it wasn't long before they also wondered if they could survive the onslaught of all the insurance paperwork.
If you're doing the best you can, the system ought not to be so hard. The system ought to be more user-friendly. The system ought to be more responsive.
At that point, the Cadells were so desperate, they hired a person who helps people deal with their insurance companies.
I've got another pile for you.
Okay.
Frustration with insurance paperwork at a personal level is also symptomatic of a national problem. All that paperwork adds administrative costs to health care that many see as a target for significant savings. For example, the Congressional General Accounting Office has compared the U.S. system, where there are many private insurance companies, to Canada's system, where the government is the single insurer. The government insurance program pays doctors and hospitals directly after they submit a simple billing form. The patient receives no bill, and private insurance companies are eliminated as administrative middlemen. The GAO estimates a similar billing system in the U.S. would save more than $66 billion a year in administrative costs. That includes $14.8 billion saved in doctors' offices, $18.2 billion saved in hospitals, and $33.9 billion saved in eliminating the overlapping administrative costs produced by more than 1,500 different health insurance programs now in the U.S.
The problem is that with 1,500 different insurance programs, each of them has to do their own advertising, their own marketing, their own premium collection and bills paying. There's enormous duplication of effort.
Even without adopting the entire Canadian health system, some proposals for health care reform in the U.S. would take their cue from Canada and eliminate private insurance companies in favor of having the government handle administration, the way it does with Social Security. That politically explosive suggestion is opposed by the Bush administration, which has instead urged that private insurance companies move to more electronic billing, such as computer transactions between healthcare providers and insurance companies without involving the patient. Carl Schramm of the Health Insurance Association of America says that would mean
basically an insurance industry that is paperless, where there are great savings to be reached.
The Bush administration estimates that the use of electronic billing would save about $8 billion a year. And this fall, Health and Human Services Secretary Louis Sullivan also proposed that consumers be issued a health insurance card, which they would present for automatic payment of bills by insurance companies. But critics say these are simplistic administrative solutions which do not begin to address the more fundamental problem of controlling the total cost of health care in this country. Princeton professor Paul Starr says the Bush administration approach
is like providing people with a card for an automatic teller machine, but no money in their bank account.
So far, politicians can find little ground for agreement when it comes to health care.
It is national health insurance.
We all have to be covered.
We can reform our own private health care system.
But everyone agrees that for consumers like the Cadells, something needs to be done about the paperwork mess. And saving billions of dollars in administrative costs may at least be a place to begin. Dr. Timothy Johnson, ABC News.
Tomorrow night we'll look at the battle to control one of the fastest rising costs in medical care, the cost of prescription drugs. We'll be back tonight in just a moment.
More morning breath.
As soon as I have my coffee, it's all gone.
Whether you admit it or not, it's a problem.
Okay, I have morning breath, but it doesn't bother anyone.
Don't be so sure.
Mine's not so bad.
Morning breath's not as bad as you think. It's worse. So get Scope. Its 2 powerful ingredients kill 90% of the bacteria that cause morning breath.
Was my morning breath really that bad?
There's no denying morning breath, so save your breath with Scope.
It was engineered to a higher standard with one of the world's most advanced suspension systems. It is nearly invisible to the wind. When it was built, it became an instant classic. The Accord Coupe from Honda. Everything else is just water under the bridge.
Special Accord leases are now available. See your nearest Honda dealer for details.
Everybody needs some money sometime.
Only Western Union can get money to over 16,000 locations in minutes. Nobody else even comes close. Western Union, the fastest way to send money.
I need a laxative that can work dependably.
Doxadan can.
But can it be gentle?
Doxadan can. Doxadan works dependably overnight with a special ingredient for gentle relief.
Dependable, yes. Gentle, yes.
Doxadan can.
Tonight on Nightline, with the U.S. forcing Haitian refugees back to what many claim is certain death, the exclusive story of one group's desperate attempt to reach America tonight.
Finally here this evening, the King goes to college. The spring semester has begun at most schools around the country, and students have returned to such heavyweight topics as advanced calculus, organic chemistry, and world history, and of course the classics, ancient and modern. Here's ABC's Chris Bury.
The University of Iowa campus appears to be a place of traditional scholarship until you get within earshot of room 109.
You ain't nothing but a hound dog.
Welcome to Elvis as Anthology, better known here as Elvis 101.
There's a kind of transformation taking place in Hound Dog.
Professor Peter Nazareth grew up listening to Elvis on the radio in Uganda. Now he's lecturing college students of the MTV generation on what Elvis was made of.
When you hear it, you've got to say, where does this thing come from?
At the core of the class is the professor's theory of Elvis as a kind of musical sponge who soaked up influences from everyone he heard, from Big Mama Thornton, the blues singer, to Mario Lanza, the Italian tenor.
Art is gumbo. Each cook has his or her own recipe, but takes all the ingredients from everywhere else, and then the mix is the artist's own, and you judge by the end result.
The class is sold out, all 50 openings taken, thanks to the staying power of the Elvis legend.
Oh, I gotta take this one.
Professor Nazareth has spent 35 years tracing the King's musical roots. When Elvis sings Blue Hawaii, for instance, the professor hears a classic crooner.
I hear Elvis trying to sing like Bing Crosby.
I'm blue Hawaii.
Elvis borrowed from others, according to the theory, but he did not steal.
You cannot have Elvis without having all these other people who are in Elvis. This is my idea. And I'm saying when you have them, Elvis becomes even greater. I mean, Elvis doesn't get diminished.
And so Elvis lives on the Iowa campus, where a new generation studies his songs, reflects on his performances, and discovers deep meanings in novels with Elvis-like characters.
Now this begins to become metaphorical.
As the syllabus says, there's a whole lot of signifying going on.
You ain't no friend of mine.
Chris Bury, ABC News, Iowa City, Iowa.
As we said, the classics. That's our report on World News Tonight. I'm Peter Jennings. Have a nice evening. Good night.
This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source.
Monday.
Hi, Daddy.
A single man adopts a child.
Daddy love Adam.
He knew it wouldn't be easy.
Yes.
But he didn't know just how hard.
have a son.
That's it, all right. Fetal alcohol syndrome.
Jimmy Smith stars in a story of love and triumph. The Broken Chord, Monday at 9, 8 Central.
From News Channel 5, Cleveland's live 24-hour news source continues.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Wilma Smith. Here's the latest news. A University of Toledo police officer was arraigned today on charges of aggravated murder. Toledo police say that Jeffrey Hodges shot 19-year-old Melissa Herstrom, a student at the university. And LTV Steel has tentatively agreed to sell its aerospace and defense operations to 2 other defense contractors. Your 24-hour news source continues in 1 hour.
Need a hero these days?
Come with me. Marshal Bob is riding Blaze, the fabulous new galloping horse.